There is a common claim circulating, especially among Zionists, that a greater Israel will one day be established. Some even suggest that its borders will expand all the way to Makkah and Medina, and that Arab countries will fall under its control. But is this prediction really supported by Islamic sources? Why do Israeli soldiers wear the map of Greater Israel on their uniforms? And why was Smotrich, the defense minister of Israel, seen giving a speech from a podium with a map of Greater Israel? The truth is that there are no mentions of a Greater Israel in any hadith or Islamic sources of information. What is mentioned, though, is that there is mention of Jewish control in the end times. But there is no specific boundary outlined in hadith that confirms the idea of a Greater Israel reaching such extents. No doubt, a major war between Muslims and Jews is prophesied after the Christians are defeated. But how far will Jewish control reach before that war? Allah knows best. The idea that Greater Israel is inevitable and destined to stretch across specific regions is not something we can confirm from authentic Islamic sources. The Bible, however, does mention something about the land that was given to all of the children of Abraham, including Ishmael, Zimran, Jokshan, Midian, etc. It describes a large territory, from the brook of Egypt to the Euphrates. On that day the Lord made a covenant with Abram and said, "To your descendants I give this land, from the Wadi or river of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates, the land of the Kenites, Kenizzites, Cadmonites, Hittites, Perizzites, Rephates, Amorites, Canaanites, Girgashites, and Jebusites." The idea of Greater Israel stems from these very few verses of the Bible, and the Zionists have the false perception that these lands are promised to the children of prophets, as mentioned in these verses. Today, the term Greater Israel is generally used among Israelis to refer to the whole of Palestine, along with the Golan Heights of Syria, which they have already occupied, the Sinai Peninsula of Egypt, and the entire area from the Nile River to the Euphrates River, which flows through today's Turkey, Syria, and Iraq, as well as parts of Saudi Arabia. The idea of Zionism was built on this core, that the boundaries of Israel will constitute the Greater Israel, but of course, because of the vast boundaries under Greater Israel, only Palestine was occupied and was given the name of Israel under the British Mandate in 1948. However, the idea of Greater Israel never died, and its aspirations persisted among the citizens of Israel, who sought to occupy increasingly more nearby lands to realize their dream of Greater Israel. This is why they make false excuses to occupy more and more neighboring areas. This is why they don't want to end the occupation in Gaza, West Bank, and the Golan Heights of Syria, even though they are being criticized for it from all over the world, and their occupation is being labeled as illegal occupation. The truth is that they won't end their occupation. Rather, they will occupy more neighboring areas. More Gaza will be made, and the Middle East will see more chaos and bloodshed than it has in the last 3 years. The major Israeli Likud party and a few other, frequently more radical Israeli political parties included the annexation of the West Bank and Gaza Strip in their platforms in the 2000s. Greater Israel is over, said Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert, a former member of Likud, on September 14, 2008. It doesn't exist. But this statement was more likely a delusion because Ehud himself never ended the occupation of Gaza and the West Bank, and never discouraged the illegal settlements there either. A recent documentary by The Guardian, it is shown that the notion of Greater Israel is not only embedded in the minds of high-ranking politicians, but also in the civilian population of Israel as well. And this is why they don't feel bad at all about their actions in Gaza or the West Bank. They believe that those people are the invaders of the land, and they are just doing whatever they can to get them off that land because God gave the whole of Israel to them.
Hello. Hi. Do you speak English?
Yes.
Can I ask you a question? We're looking for the green line. Do you know where the green line is?
And exist.
It doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist. All of Israel is our land.
All of Israel is yours.
Yeah.
Did the green line used to exist?
No, never.
No? You don't recognize the green line. There is no green line.
God gave us Israel, all of it.
For most of those I ask, the Green Line no longer exists in Jerusalem and hasn't for a long time.
In many ways, the erasure of the Green Line began in 1967, when Israel occupied the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, including here in East Jerusalem. Sorry? What did it...
What that gentleman been saying?
He's saying that Israel never occupied the Gaza Strip or the West Bank, that these territories belong to Israel. They're theirs.
This indicates that the concept of Greater Israel is deeply ingrained in Israeli society, and it suggests that the suffering of Gazans and Palestinians in the West Bank is merely a preview. Soon, every neighboring nation may face a similar fate, as Israelis are tirelessly working to realize their vision of Greater Israel. They despise the statement, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free," because they are actually the ones who want a Greater Israel stretched from the Nile River to the Euphrates. They will try with all their might so that their dream of making a Greater Israel is fulfilled, but it is not certain that it will come true for sure. The sole aim of all the bloodshed and occupation is to hasten the arrival of Dajjal. Dajjal will rule all of Greater Israel and then the world, they say. The current borders of Israel seem too small for them to even offer to Dajjal, and this is the reason why they are aiming to occupy more and more land, so that it is appropriate for their leader Dajjal to rule over, and when Dajjal comes, he will further expand the region to the whole world. The Israelis are not just a threat to the Palestinians. The Muslim Ummah daily sleeps soundly in their beds, thinking that the suffering and pain that the Gazans are going through is limited to that region only. But if the rest of the Ummah, specifically the regions that fall under the idea of Greater Israel, are not careful enough and do not arm themselves both spiritually and militarily, they are going to face occupation and brutal assaults as well. What should we do as families, as individuals? How can we, as Muslims, put an end to the Jewish dream of a Greater Israel? We must train ourselves and our children for a rough and tough lifestyle. We must move away from the comforts of soft beds and luxuries. How can we expect to fight such difficult times when we are addicted to comfort and unable to face hardship? Across the world, Jews and other nations prepare their children through military training. Why are we, as an Ummah, so negligent? Our governments, our leaders, and we as individuals need to institutionalize military training. It must be a national effort, not left to scattered groups with different agendas. We should mandate military training, particularly for the youth. Just as older generations had NCC, National Cadet Corps, in schools, we must revive such systems at a national level. Only a trained generation can be ready for what's coming. We cannot expect to defend Islam or stand with Mahdi while remaining glued to our comfort zones. We must train ourselves and our children in both spiritual endurance and physical toughness. Build a lifestyle that is ready to suffer for truth, to stand firm in battle, and to sacrifice for the Ummah. Some hadith narrate terrifying details of future wars. For example, it is said that in one war, so many bodies will lie on the ground that a crow flying overhead will find no place to land. It will fly and fly, finally fall from exhaustion, and die without a place to rest. A hadith predicts that these wars will result in the martyrdom of 500 million Muslims. And if that many Muslims will die, imagine the massive scale of the wars. Imagine the death toll of others involved in these battles. After this, only those with the strongest faith will remain, a faith unshakable by any trial. If Al-Mahdi comes tomorrow, are we ready to be among his army? Many of us aren't. We are untrained, unmotivated, spiritually weak, and perhaps that is why this Ummah is under so much trial. If we don't prepare, we will perish. If we stay in comfort, we will become victims of oppression that is awaiting us at our doorstep. May Allah make us among the chosen. May Allah save us from the trials of the end times.